Hi everybody. It's meteorologists Joe Rayo and Joe Chaffee here on the Joe and Joe Weather Show. It's Monday, September the 28th. I got the month right. September the 28th, 2020.
Believe it or
Rolling
not,
right along.
yes, it is hard to believe October is getting ready to come on in later on in the week, Joe. And it
Yes,
doesn't feel like October right now, but it will certainly feel every bit like October, I think, by the time we get to Wednesday and especially Thursday and Friday.
I totally agree. And you know something, Joe? I looked at the radar right now, and you want to know, and you know what?
What?
I can't see any rain clean to Cincinnati.
Oh, dear
I
me.
started to think about the offline discussion that you and I had after the show about Mother McGillicuddy from uh, from Lucy, and I was from I Love Lucy, and I don't know why it popped into my head today, but I got out of the car, and I guess it's because I'm going to be doing a road trip real soon, and all I could think of, and I'm going heading toward Ohio, and all I could think of was there's not anything clean to Cincinnati. All
Well,
right.
are you going to see any signs? 3 miles to
Aunt Sally's
Ellie?
pecan pralines.
Right.
Well, when you get down to Georgia, well, I told you the last time when I drove from Atlanta down to Florida, there's a pecan place along the highway. I think it's 77. I think the highway is 77, and it starts at like 50 or 60 miles. I forgot the name of it now, but it's like 50 miles to so and so's pecan palace.
Right.
And then when you
Right.
get and then it's 10 miles, 5, 3, and only when I did on that episode, that was when they got there, they found that it was out of business. This one was very much in business, and I did buy some pecans.
Yes.
Okay.
I think when we were working together, I think my sister, um, what was it, my wife?
Oh, you got me
My
the
wife was
Aunt
going to say,
Sally's.
if it was my if it was my wife who did this, she's going to say, how could you forget that it was me
Right.
who bought the who bought those pralines for
just
George
just just
Jeffrey?
say you had a moment.
Yes.
One of those moments.
Yes.
um, yeah, those Aunt Sally's pecan pralines was actually there was a place in still is a place in New Orleans, Aunt Sally's in the French
Wait a minute
Quarter.
now. Wait a minute. Steve LaPont. Now my wife just signed on, right? A few seconds
Is
ago
he
on the chat
snitching
board.
on you?
No, but Steve LaPont says, hello, Joe R's boss.
I've seen that before.
Yes. Yes. Well, he tells the truth.
Yeah. Well, there you go. All right. So
Oh boy.
I'm,
Well, what do we have to discuss tonight?
well, I want to ask you a question, and let me set this up for a minute. I'm going to bring up the drought map, and this is the one from the other day, but it can't possibly be that much different. It hasn't rained, so the dry have gotten even drier. But in all seriousness, it's not very often that you see that we've seen here in the Northeast the extreme drought that is showing up in parts of northeast and easternmost Connecticut, all of Rhode Island, and in parts of southeastern Massachusetts, also a small portion of southeastern New Hampshire and into southern Maine, and even a smaller portion in the northern Maine. New England is just bone dry, and like they're either in a areas are either in a moderate drought to severe drought to extreme drought. New York State, um, a few counties, York County is listed as abnormally dry, and
I believe it.
they're not talking liquor. And you've got abnormally dry to some moderate drought conditions up in northern New York, north central New York, western New York, and central and parts of western Pennsylvania. So that's all going to get at least a dent from this weather system that's coming in. But I was giving this a close look today with regards to what's coming up for tomorrow, and I want to see if you agree with me on this. Um, One of the things I noticed with respect to this upper trough that's swinging through for later tomorrow and into Wednesday, that's driving up this moisture that's coming up from the south. You got these showers that are coming in from the west, but What caught my eye was this upper trough tomorrow night, and I'm going to bring up the NAM 500 here because I'm starting to think that there might be a little bit of rough weather to get through in some areas. Particularly, I was thinking maybe coastal New Jersey, maybe draw a line up the Hudson River and then go east from there. That we could wind up seeing some. I don't want to go down the road of severe thunderstorms yet, but I certainly think that there could be some strong thunderstorms in the mix when this goes by.
Well, I think that all of the models, not just a few, all of the models show that between 2 o'clock tomorrow night, 2 a.m. Wednesday morning to 8 a.m. Wednesday morning, in that 6 hour time frame, Joe, most definitely every model is red flagging a period of heavy rainfall. In fact, I said on my Facebook page, on average for the tri-state area, anywhere from 1 1/4 to maybe 1 3/4 inches over that 6 hour time frame. That is more rain in that 6 hour time frame than we have seen around most parts of our viewing area in the last 24 days. And we're
Mm-hmm.
all going to compress that into only a few hours come tomorrow night. And yeah, I certainly mentioned at least the possibility of a few thunderstorms as well. Whether or not they obtain severe levels is still yet to be seen. Although I can tell you that looking at the FOOS from the NAM FOOS, the tabular data from
Right.
earlier today, they had at 42 hours, that's 2 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday, a vertical velocity of plus 53. That'll,
Whoa.
that'll do some damage.
Whoa. Yeah, no, that's sharp. That's very strong. What caught my attention here is the fact that when I was looking at the upper air, and I'm going to see if it shows up. Maybe it shows up at 500, but maybe it's a little more dramatic if I look at the 700 millibar level. Let's look at it. Look at it there, and the upper jet in here in the east. Here's the trough. Okay, so this is tomorrow night at roughly about 1 a.m. So here's your trough. But what I notice is going in through the early morning hours, Joe. This whole area in here, right in there, um, those upper air winds, the gradient there in the upper atmosphere really tightens up. And you've got this, look at the jet streaks that show up here on, this is early Wednesday morning, right down in this area in here. I'm thinking, that's right in there. That's a sharply negatively tilted trough that's swinging up and around. I think we could get some, I think we could get some rough weather out of it, and maybe there might even be some isolated severe thunderstorms in the mix.
Well, I don't know if you had a chance to look at the
I mean, there's some 70
belt.
knot jet winds here at 700 millibars, and some of that's going to mix down. That's another thing. And the European kind of went off the wall, showing these really crazy wind gusts in New England. Somebody showed it to me, and I thought, well, yeah, that seems a bit too extreme. But looking at this from late this afternoon, this evening, there might be some rather strong wind gusts up in New England out of this as this whole thing plays out.
Well, if you look at the FGen map, both for 850 and also for
He wants
700,
the F gen. He gets the F gen. Hang on a second.
yeah, you could see what we call atmospheric energy, or omega. The contours are rather tight, not quite as tight as what we saw in that spur or that arm that came through for a few hours during Itzaia back in early August.
Oh yeah, look at
But
this.
it
All of
suggests
this is the omega that Joe's referring to.
it suggests that we could be in line for, as you were alluding to, Joe, some rather rough weather here in the late night hours tomorrow night into the early hours of Wednesday morning. So it looks like we're going to have an action-packed period to watch after 24 some odd days of dry and relatively calm and rather boring weather. It seems like Mother Nature is going to try to make up for all of that in a matter of a few hours come late tomorrow night.
Yeah, the other thing I picked up on was the fact it's a little hard to see on the. I wish I kind of wish these isobars were a little darker so we could see them better. I mean, it might show up better on the GFS on the preset map. Let's see. Yeah, if you look here, Joe, this is one of those situations that whenever you get that. Uh, I know you like to look at this. Is that the isobars when they get that V shape? and that's what we're seeing here for tomorrow morning. I'm sorry, for Wednesday morning, when this
Right.
this thing at this point is passed through. Now, this particular map is showing actual rainfall in terms of total amounts, and not the radar reflection. If I switch over to the map that shows the radar reflection, because that makes it look like it's raining almost all the way back to Western PA and Western New York Wednesday morning, and it won't be that far west. You see it cuts off in easternmost Pennsylvania, because right after we get through 8 or 9 o'clock, it comes to an end rather quickly. But if you look at this at 2 a.m., this is where your front is making its final approach, and the GFS is pretty robust here as well, with all this convective activity that it's showing on its reflection of the radar. So this is a pretty solid front that's coming on through. And I'm thinking, I've been saying 1 to 2 inches with some locally higher amounts in terms of rainfall. I think that's, to me, that's a fair, that's a fair way to go.
Well, I came
Unless you
up
want
with
to go, unless you want to go higher, there are
I
prices
I
right rules do apply in forecasting.
I came up with something like 1.6 to 2.4 inches.
Okay.
Oh, and again, out of all of that, like maybe 70 or 80% of that is going to come in that 6 hour time frame, late tomorrow night and early Wednesday morning.
And if you come into within 1/10 of an inch of the rainfall on your showcase, then you get wet on both showcases. So
But
this
I
is
didn't get a chance to spin the big wheel yet.
all right. Yeah, right. Get a dollar. Get a right. Get a dollar. Get 1,000 inches of snow, and
Yes,
and a bonus spin.
yes.
So this is really our player for tomorrow, folks. It's hard to imagine, but when it hasn't rained in 17 straight days, you get excited about these things, and so excited that I accidentally hit the hotkey command. So there you go. But this is
I
gonna
don't know
go
if you're
ahead.
aware of this, and I don't know if it's the same thing with all of the people who are on the chat board, but from my view aspect right here, you are going in and out in terms of your audio.
Yeah, there is a problem. I did get a little blurb when we started the show that said the internet was unstable. We've been having some. There's been optimum issues on Long Island, all over the place since last night, and ours came back. But I know a lot of people are having some problems. So it's not me. It's optimum. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
so
Well, I know
um,
it's not your fault, Joe.
you can. Or is it still happening or?
Yeah, every like during the span of a typical 1 minute period, you'll go out for about 5 or 10 seconds and then come back, and that
All
kind of
right.
thing.
Well, hopefully
It's
it's.
livable.
I know.
I can work with that.
Well, hopefully it stops, because this show does become a podcast after it's over. And well, by the way, welcome to those of you who are listening to our Joe and Joe Weather Show in as a podcast. And we hope you enjoy it, and you come back every single day, because we're on almost every single day. So
Yes,
this is our big deal for the week. We get this weather system on through, and then after that, as you said, it turns cooler. It looks like there's another front that's going to come through at the end of the week that brings down, I think, the coolest of the cool air, and that will come in for the weekend. So if we play our cards right, we should be in pretty good shape here by the time we get to Saturday and Sunday. Because for many folks, it's the weekend that matters.
right. It's the first weekend of October, and a lot of folks like to pack their bag or maybe pack their picnic basket, although I think it's a little bit cool for that still. But nonetheless, we'll traverse, let's say, northward on 87 to perhaps get some nice colors, maybe not too far away in upstate New York or the Berkshires, Massachusetts. It is, again, it looks like a nice weekend ahead of us with a fair amount of sunshine, although, again, a little bit on the cooler side compared to Joe. We actually had to turn on the air conditioner a couple of nights ago.
Yeah, no,
It was difficult to get some sleep here on Saturday, and it's not so much it's hot or unusually warm; it's the humidity. The
it's
humidity
humidity.
is a killer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
here the wind's off the ocean, and the water temperatures are kind of easing a little bit now. So at night, it's been getting down into the low and mid 60s here, which is which normally is comfortable were it not for the fact that the humidity is what's coming in with the south wind off the water. The satellite, by the way, the table's all being set, and you can see it so well on the satellite tonight. Your upper trough is dropping southward in through the plains and the western Great Lakes. You see that the rotation of the clouds. There's a strong upper low and short wave, and this trough goes all the way down in toward the Gulf states. And that southerly flow setting up along the eastern seaboard. You got all this tropical moisture that's starting to blossom in the from the northeast Gulf into and off the southeast coast of the U.S. So that is, that's part of the table that's being set here for later tomorrow and tomorrow night. So there's a fairly good buildup here of all this tropical moisture. And then there's also a separate area. Now here's your cold front. So you've got your showers and some thunderstorms that are running out ahead of it. And of course, while all this is going on, remember, if there's a deep trough someplace, there's got to be a strong ridge someplace else, and that is indeed the case out in the west. So you've got this big upper high, and that is setting up the deep trough, and you've also got a strong upper high off the east coast. So it's strong ridge, deep trough, strong ridge. And this sort of high amplitude pattern means that when you get these swings here in the eastern states, as these troughs arrive and go through, it warms, it gets warm like it is now, with temperatures above normal. Then the trough goes by, and you get the trough arrives. You get your rain and your thunderstorms, and then after that, it turns much cooler. How come you're
Right.
smiling?
Huh?
You look like you were
I'm smiling.
smiling.
I was just looking at.
You're just a happy person today. Just happy. Who's
My wife says often I don't smile enough here. That she always used to say when I was on television, you never smile all that much. And now when I'm on this show, she says, "Why don't you smile?" She always says, "Joe always smiles so much, and you just sit there like a lump." Like,
she's
you
so
know,
hard on you. Good God.
yes,
Jeez.
but it's been a wonderful 36 years. Do you hear that, dear?
Yeah. You may get listen. She may use the Macy's intercom at any moment. So there's your radar to your satellite tonight. I just want to give you the Canadian perspective here. I love this Canadian loop because it really shows you how things are.
You hear that?
What she said, I'm listening.
Yes.
Oh, good Lord. Well, anyway,
Anyway, you love the Canadian.
yes, your moisture's
Thank you.
coming into the Canadian Northwest. It's completely bypassing the West Coast, which, by the way, we've got another big wildfire going on in California. And of course, now with this deep trough, you see all the action that's coming down out of Canada and then rising up with the southerly flow in the eastern part of the United States. Weather actually, Joe, still looks pretty decent in the Canadian Maritimes. I'm noticing there's a few clouds up in parts of Newfoundland, but
Ever, ever since
looked like a fairly decent day in Nova Scotia today.
ever since Teddy left, the weather's been great
Yeah,
in the Maritimes.
yeah. Some sometimes all it takes is for one big storm to go by and it cleans house for a while. Actually, since we didn't get anything from Teddy, Teddy's been part of this whole dry we've been in. But at least when it was moving up the East Coast, we had that beautiful cool high with with our first frost that came pretty far south down into New York State. Here's your radar tonight. There's your front to the west, setting up with some showers and heavy downpours from easternmost Michigan through Ohio, and then you got this narrow band of showers and storms from eastern Kentucky down into, you're smiling again, into Alabama to the to just to the east of Biloxi, approaching Mobile, and then of course you got all these showers and storms that are developing over Florida and off the southeast coast, which again, that's all going to get involved with that system for tomorrow. The rest of the country, nothing going on, Joe. West of except for what's rotating up in Wisconsin and eastern Minnesota. There isn't a drop of rain anywhere going west all the way to the west coast.
Yes, and Steve LaPont says, Joe R. So she gives you directions in your hidden earpiece too, with a smiley emoji. Call that an IFB, Steve. And no, she's not giving me any directions. I don't wear an IFB for this show. Maybe I should actually, right? I,
Well,
and to tell you the truth, Joe, when I was at News 12, my daughter worked as a part-time or a fill-in director. And so imagine, if you will, and you have three daughters of your own. Imagine you're standing there and they're getting the camera lined up,
she
and all of
did.
a sudden you hear one of your daughters in your ear saying, "Dad, give me a mic check."
That's got to be cool, though. Well,
It-
my daughter was a producer for a while at CBS News, but
right.
we never did get to work together. It would have been a lot of fun to have that happen.
That would happen a few times, and yeah, it was great. It was good. It was great to hear the daughter,
Yes.
hearing the wife in the earpiece.
No, go away. It's not working. Hello. Not
I hear that.
working.
I hear that enough. I hear that enough here at the home base.
She's
Oh, I'm
listening.
I'm asking for it.
Oh, did
Yeah.
you eat dinner yet?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay, then you're
We
safe.
had
At least.
beef barley soup tonight.
Okay, good. At least you're safe. She can't poison your food if you were eating
Yep.
afterward.
Oh, all right.
So you're safe. Uh,
Huh.
but she might still be angry at breakfast, so just beware. What do you think of WPC? They got 2 to 3 inches from eastern North Carolina all the way up to Maine, and that includes most of New Jersey, southern New England, Long Island. Kind of cuts off a bit as you go into eastern Pennsylvania to about an inch and a quarter or less. But I think that's fair. If that convection really does blossom out and it verifies, we might even be a little bit on the low side. We would probably maybe we'll finish up toward the higher end of the rainfall amounts out of this.
It could be. It could be. We'll see what happens. In fact, now that I think about it, I really ought to go uh, to the local gas station tomorrow and fill up my gas can just in case.
And just in case
My daughter,
Nicely has an issue.
well, I wasn't going to mention the name of the electric company,
Well,
but
they're your
yeah,
electric
just in case
company. They're
there's an
not
issue
mine.
tomorrow night or Wednesday morning.
Well, it's always good to be prepared and to be safe.
It's good. Yeah.
I recommend that. All
Yes.
right, so let's go to the upper air. Let's see what's going on in the longer term. Usually, I can't wait till we go to regular standard time because the whole GFS would have been in at that point, and right now at lately especially, it should be mostly in, but some of the maps are not coming in. They're not filled in. There's missing stuff here. We won't blame Levi Cowan of Tropical Tidbits for that. There's probably some NSEP issue going on. But just watching the upper air pattern, Joe, as we go to this, these very high amplitude type troughs. This trough in the east is going to hang around for a while. And of course, this first arm goes through here for early Wednesday. That's our rain. The second short wave that drops down at the end of the week is the cold and the reinforcing push of cooler air. There's yet another short wave that comes around on Sunday and cuts off down in Kentucky and Tennessee, and then that kind of moves in, maybe some precip here along about Monday. But it's a more active pattern, and it's a cooler pattern going into the long range because this flow from Canada is going to continue. Maybe up until about the 10th of the month or so before things kind of flatten out a little bit. At least that's the way it looks.
Right. The 3 to 4 week experimental prog from the Climate Prediction Center, in fact, has the entire country, the 48 contiguous states, all in orange, indicating for the middle and latter part of October above normal temperatures and also near to below normal precipitation. So what they're alluding to, Joe, in mid to late October is a spell of mild and somewhat dry conditions nationwide. We'll see.
All right. Now, in the tropics, we have been pointing out that the area of interest for later this week is going to be the Western Caribbean, and that's because of the fact that when you see what's happening with this deep trough into the north central Gulf of Mexico, the big upper high way out in the Atlantic, that kind of leads this area here in the Caribbean, sort of a giant void in terms of pressure, where pressures are going to be running well below normal. And I think that's going to probably allow for something to try to form in the Western Caribbean late this week and this coming weekend. The models have been hinting at this for a while. I think the GFS has been probably the most bullish, while the European has hints of it, but really doesn't do very much. And I'm just looking now for the first time on this run to see what it did today. You can see it right here. Come Friday, there's a broad 1,004 millibar low in the Western Caribbean, east of Belize and north of Nicaragua. And then it moves it northwestward toward the Yucatan Peninsula, eventually emerges into the Gulf of Mexico, but it kind of gets stuck there on this particular run. In fact, it barely makes it out. And sometimes it's happened this time of year, Joe, when these troughs in the east, they pull out. It leaves the southern half of the Gulf of Mexico sort of in a no-flow land. And at least on this run, it really just kind of just weakens it and meanders it. Now, I don't know if that's how it's going to play out. I have to give it a deeper look. But it looks to me like one system for sure is going to come out of there, and maybe another one later on in the forecast period around mid-month. We could see another system come out of the Caribbean, because pressures across the entire Caribbean Sea are going to be running well below normal for 10 days or more. So I think one or possibly two systems could come out of this.
It could. We'll see. With the pressure so much abnormally or anomalously
Anomalously.
anomalously lower than normal down in the central and western Caribbean. We'll see how this all pans out. But as we talked about yesterday, Joe, really after so many weeks, the tropics need to take a breather, and that apparently is going to happen at least over the coming days ahead.
Yeah, just looking at the loop tonight across the tropical Atlantic and back over into the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico and the southeast coast. You have a lot of areas of scattered showers and thunderstorms, but nothing organized. I think the Cape Verde season is pretty much done. The push across the tropical Atlantic is getting weaker and weaker with every day. And this is about the time usually when the Cape Verde season just completely shuts down. You'll still have tropical waves that'll move off, but they'll tend to just kind of linger out there. So the development area as you get into the month of October, not to say that there couldn't be something that does wind up developing out there. It's always a shot, but the main climatologically, you look in this area here as you get deeper into October, the development zone shifts westward, usually west of west of say 50 degrees west, and by the time we get toward the end of the month, it's closer to 60 degrees west. And right now, a lot of moisture running around, a lot of thunderstorms running around, but there's nothing that shows any possibility of becoming a tropical cyclone anytime soon. So we are now back full screen, Mr. Rayo.
Isn't that across the Atlantic, on the loop you were just showing, across the Atlantic coast of South America, or northern and eastern South America? I thought I was seeing a bit of a push of Sahara dust. I'm not sure if that or whatever.
No, I did see that. Could be. Well, it was pretty far south.
Yeah.
Yeah, that there looks like there might be some dust up if you go up just east of the African coast. If you go east of the north and west, I'm sorry, north and west of the Cabo Verde Islands, it looks like there's some dust up there.
Right.
That might have been, but then that would have probably had to have come off further. We'd like to have seen the loop, maybe going back a few days to kind of find out where exactly that all came from. But no matter, these things happen. They're very common. I just got another little note that just popped up on my screen saying my internet connection is unstable. So hopefully, yeah, again, this is an optimum issue. It's not my issue. Well, it is my issue, but I'm not the cause. Okay, for a change, I'm doing everything right, and I'm not the cause.
Robert Brown made a request to my wife. He says, Mrs. Ray, bring your soup down to north, and could you change the belt on my John Deere while you're here? And my wife responds, beef barley, to Robert Brown, beef barley is my favorite soup.
I love beef barley soup.
And no, you'll have to get your own mechanic.
Well,
She did her.
does she get
She's
union? Does she get union rates? Maybe she
Does she
should
what?
charge. She could charge $100 an hour.
Well, her reputation precedes her. I'm sure, at least on this particular YouTube site. So
And it's all good. It's all good. By the way, I'm
yeah,
going to try to do this tomorrow. I didn't get a chance to set it up, but we were talking about the 2006 uh, February 2006 blizzard that I seem to
right,
have kind of blocked out of my mind and can't
right.
seem to remember it. But Timothy Veltman sent me a note and pointed out. I'm going to pull up some stuff about this in the next couple of days, and we'll bring it on the air. But apparently, after that happened, there was a big wind event in upstate New York, and some I think rare. If I read it correctly, some rare February thunderstorm. You know what? Let me pull up his message if I can find it, and I can I can at least quote him directly. My God, the memory is not what it used to be.
Well, Joe, we all get old.
Well, that's true. I still have some of my natural hair color though. It is natural. You're freezing on me. Oh, there. I
I'm
thought you're. I know either I stunned you to silence or that unstable internet was at play.
Well, the problem is also is that there's long periods of silence, and I just can't simply answer. So
Oh, so you're not hearing me either?
I'm not hearing you at intervals for about 5 to 10, even 15 seconds. Then you
No,
come back or whatever.
I'm
Thank you,
sorry.
Steve. Thank you, Steve LaPont, who has just hit super chats in spite of all of the technical glitches that we're having tonight.
You should tell him to see. We should send it to Optimum to fix the darn internet to fix the darn internet on Long Island. It's a big aerial outage that they have going on. Uh,
What else is new? Did they have this before the company changed hands more often than not or whatever? It rarely ever
yeah,
happened
yeah. He said.
when the Dolans
Uh,
had control of Cablevision, and now it seems like increasingly more that this is happening on good old Optimum.
So,
But
yeah, no, it's frustrating. So, Timothy on his message said, "Call it weather whiplash," but 4 days after this snowstorm that we had, he had up in upstate New York a major severe weather event. Guess you could call it a derecho up that way. When we were firmly entrenched in the warm sector of a robust storm, it was incredible for mid-February to see a strong squall line with gusts to 60 miles an hour and an amazing 98-mile-an-hour wind gusts in Milton at the small Saratoga airport that even flipped over some small airplanes, and an astounding 143-mile-an-hour wind up on Stratton Mountain at the ski resort in Vermont.
wow,
That, yeah, I'm gonna tomorrow or Wednesday. I'm gonna go back and look and pull up some of the maps of this and take a look at it because that was really that was quite a week that I don't remember. you know, with the snowstorm down our way, and then that big severe weather event that occurred up into upstate New York. So let's give you a Briller update. Mr. Scott Briller is feeling a little better today, one day at a time, and in terms of his recovery, and we continue to wish him well. Still trying to figure out exactly what's going on with him, but uh, again, one day at a time. And also want to mention just Bill Uber, who's a regular here on the board. I don't know if he's on tonight, but he's been experiencing a little bit of pain in his chest every time he bends down lately. So he's going to go have it checked out tomorrow. So hopefully they won't find anything. If there's a blockage, then these days they just put you on the table like they like you're getting your oil change, and they just blow out your lines and you're done with it. Uh,
that's an interesting metaphor or an interesting analogy. But
Well, it kind of is because
yeah,
when you go in for these things now, these are procedures that used to keep you in the hospital for days or even a week or two, and now you basically go in the morning, have the stuff done, and unless there's something anomalous, they send you home at the end of the day, or
right.
at worst, they just keep you there one night.
Right.
So we do have Briller Jeopardy, though, Joe. So if you can hear the whole question, which hopefully you can,
Hopefully.
um, why do Mickey and friends have only 4 fingers?
Um, that's a good question. I never thought about it. I know that Mickey would always wear white gloves, which is something you don't often see a giant mouse do. Four finger. I don't know. Why did they only have 4 fingers?
Because the animators thought that 5 fingers would look silly.
You're kidding me.
That's what he says.
You know, in Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol, and that was a very favorite show of mine. I'm sure many people remember that Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol, which was aired at Christmas time for many, many years. In the part of that show where Mr. Magoo is, and he plays the role of Ebenezer Scrooge, and he's looking at himself as a little boy. There's one part where the little boy puts his hand up to a blackboard and traces the fingers around the hand. Only 4 fingers there. And I said, why did they do that? But I guess for the same reason that Mickey also has 4 fingers. So
Yeah,
you're a cartoon character, you should only have four
4 fingers. All right.
Yeah.
So there were 2 presidents whose first and last names had double letters in them.
Whose first and last names?
Had double letters in them.
Well, the last name that comes to mind immediately is Jefferson.
But Thomas doesn't have
Thomas does
double
not have
letters.
So then it could be Jefferson.
I have double letters in my last name, Chaffee, 2 F's. But
double letters.
double letters.
Yeah, but you were never president.
That's true, but I don't have 2 double letters in my first name.
Correct. Joe, we could spend the rest of the night here since there are 45 presidents.
Okay. Well, I'll let you. So you ready? William Harrison.
Okay.
All right. Double L, double R.
And William Henry Harrison?
Well, that's William Henry Harrison. William Harrison.
Right.
Okay. I don't know if you. I don't
But
know.
Wasn't there a William Henry Harrison?
But I think that's the same person.
Oh, okay.
All right. And the other president with the double letters, both double L's, by the way. Both double L's. Millard Fillmore.
Millard Fillmore. Not to be confused
with Freddie Fillmore.
Not to be confused with Mallard Fillmore. Mallard Fillmore.
Well, I was thinking more. I was thinking also of the Freddie Fillmore show.
Freddie Fillmore.
Right.
Yes.
And who was Time Magazine's first man of the year?
First man of the year? Was it Lindbergh?
It was Charles Lindbergh. That is correct.
Charles Lindbergh, right.
So
who was the man of the year in 1968?
68?
68.
68. Well, that was Nixon and Humphrey in the election in 68.
Right.
Okay.
Let me put it another way. Here's a hint. It was a very turbulent, kind of like, well, maybe not like this year, but it seemed like every time you turned around, something.
Yeah, there was a lot of rioting, and it was the 60s were pretty. Yeah, either that or you were on drugs all the time.
But this selection by Time Magazine, they said, "Thank you for saving 1968." I'll give you another hint. It was more than one person.
It was more than one person?
Correct.
I'll take a guess. The Apollo astronauts?
Correct.
Really?
William Anders, Jim Lovell, and Frank Borman, who went around the moon on Christmas Eve, of all things, in 1968. And
I was watching on that subject matter. I was watching last night a documentary on Netflix about the space shuttle, the history of the space shuttle,
right,
and all the politics behind it, and the what happened as they as we approached what happened with Challenger, the O-rings
Right.
in the space shuttle, and the the problems that they had with the O-rings. They weren't able to figure out why they were burning, and the pressure that was being put, NASA was putting
And
on
so
the.
they took a calculated risk.
Yes, basically, even though they apparently the companies that were involved in the building of the space shuttle or the space shuttles were saying, you know what, this is not good. You really shouldn't be doing this. But there was a lot of pressure from Congress to, they promised that they were going to do all these launches and they were falling behind. So it's very interesting. A lot of it came back in memory from after watching it, but it was just kind of very interesting seeing it laid out in perspective there from beginning to end in terms of the development. And they had all these wonderful interviews with a lot of the astronauts, and of course the astronauts that were on Challenger, Christy McAuliffe and some of the others, and saw stuff that I never had seen before. So it was very interesting. If those of you who have Netflix, I highly recommend it.
Well, the day that the Challenger blew up, that very evening, President of the State of the Union speech, and you absolutely knew, although it's never been proven, but I'm sure, 100% certainty, that somewhere in that speech, he was going to make an allusion to the fact that as I speak to you now, we have astronauts on our space shuttle, including the first teacher in space. And you know that NASA wanted so much to have that moment because NASA at that time was looking desperately for ways to promote the space program and to bring back people into the program, make it more popular. And so that I think may have also gone into the decision to get Challenger off the ground that day, even though several scientists and several engineers said it's too cold, we really shouldn't launch today. But they went ahead and launched, and well, we all know what the result was.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah, but it's a good, like I said, it's a good documentary. If you have Netflix and you've watched everything else, you can watch that. Or if you can't decide what you want to watch, I do recommend it. It was very educational, and I did enjoy it, by the
Yes,
way. So,
and
all
hard to
right,
believe it's been now that that was 1986. That
it's
Challenger
34
explosion,
years ago.
34 years ago. And the other thing that intrigues me, Joe, is the family, the immediate family. Of course, the husband, he was remarried
Right.
some years later, but the two children, the one was the son was 9 years old, the daughter was only 4, and in all of these years, you would have thought that maybe 60 Minutes or
Would
one of
have
these
spoken to them, yeah,
would have
or
tracked them
tried
down,
to.
sat them down and said, so how did you, asking them questions, a typical question of how do you feel? Do you think about your mom a lot? Or what are you doing now? Never. They never came into play, which I guess is how it should be. And I guess that's how they want it to be. But
Right.
it's just amazing because now, 34 years later, I mean, the son is what, 43 years old? The daughter is 38.
Well,
And
there's a clip in the documentary. Krista is leaving to go for training and to get ready for the launch, and she's leaving her home. And the family's getting ready to pack up and go in the car. The daughter didn't want her to go. The
right,
daughter just kind of grabbed her and said, "I don't want you to go, mommy." And it's like
right.
pretty. It's when since you already know how it turns out. It's very sad.
And
It's very sad.
the son had like this little, I think it was a puppy, a little doll, and I forget what the name of the doll was, but she took it with her and said, "I'll bring him on board, and he'll keep me company or whatever." So it must have been like doubly, you know, to lose your mom, and also, of course, he was so attached to the doll or whatever. It was just terrible. So,
Yeah.
and we're beyond that now. I mean, it's that part of the space program is behind us. We don't launch shuttles anymore, and now just in recent days, you may have heard that uh, we are planning to put a man and a woman on the moon in 2024. That'll be interesting if
Who's doing it?
that does pan
NASA
out.
or is it one of the private companies?
I think I think it's one of the private companies,
Maybe
like NASA
is it
is.
Virgin Galactic?
I don't know.
I mean,
I only
I
have.
did notice their stock got a boost today from a couple of the brokerage houses, but I don't know. Yeah, no, it was up $4 to from 16 to 20, a little over 20. Uh, yeah, but I don't know if I didn't see any news on that. That's very interesting. I've been watching also on Netflix. I've been watching Away. I told you about it. It's about the first mission to Mars, and I just finished it last night. It's 10 episodes, and I was kind of running through my head the fact that. Uh, when when are we going to when are we going to go back to the at least go back to the moon? And now you've told me this, so I guess it's kind of front and center. It's a matter of time before they do that. I wonder if they're going to try a Martian mission before when I leave this Earth.
Oh yeah, they are planning a Martian mission by 2035. 2035. So
Okay,
they're
so
still
if my mind stays in check, I'll be what do I be 76.
no need to dwell on what we're going to be. Just as long as we're still here in
Doing
2035,
this show.
doing the show. Yeah, you have no clue.
Although maybe by
We
then
may become popular.
we might need a tad more makeup.
Yes.
All right, so let's wrap it up here tonight. All right, so folks, we'll see you back tomorrow night at the 7 o'clock Eastern time, and of course, this show also will be on as a podcast, roughly in about 30 minutes or so. So if you were a latecomer, or maybe on a day where you can't make it and you want to listen to the show because you can't watch it because you're too busy, but you can plug in your earbuds into your ears so that you can sort of ignore everybody else, and you can listen to the Joe and Joe show as a podcast, and you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and all those places that call podcasts their home. So be sure to check it out. All right, have a great night,
and Pat
Mr. Rio.
and Pat and Pat BFD on a final note here off of the chat board wants to know the name of the first woman who's going to the moon. Asks, is her name Alice?
Alice. When,
It would be amazing if that ended up being the case.
wouldn't it be funny if this and the guy's name was Ralph?
Ralph
They
and
should
Ralph.
really if they have a sense of humor, they should really go and do that. They should try to find the qualifications for this. You have to be this, that, your
And
physical
you
health good, and your name must be Ralph. And for a male and for a female, your name must be Alice.
That would be funny.
That would be hilarious. All right, so we'll see you tomorrow. We'll be taking a look at what'll be happening tomorrow night into Wednesday morning. We'll re-update you on the tropics. Good night, Mr. Rayo.
Good night, sir.